Sure, sure. Yeah.
All right, welcome everybody. My name is Jack Meadows. I'm the planning director of the town of Siler City, and we'd like to welcome you to our oral study symposium for Second Avenue. And what we've done up to this point is during our comprehensive transportation planning process, this project was identified as a potential project for Siler City to think about as an improvement working with DOT in the future. And following that, we continue to have that discussion. Matt Day is here. He's going to speak next. He shared with me a grant opportunity that DOT offered to help pay for a corridor study to provide some more direction on what that project should look like. And we applied for that grant through DOT and received it. The town is paying about 10% of the study fee. It's about $7,700. And that's what we are here this evening. We hired a great consultant to work with. Tarpo is our other partner in this as well as DOT. And the mission and our consultants will take over from here after I work with them is to hear from the public. Help us, folks of the town will help decide what that project may look like. So this is a planning study. It's not construction dollars. There's not going to be construction done. At the end of the summer, it's going to be a planning study to be used to go after funding in the future to build a project. So, welcome everybody, and I'll turn it over to Matt Day.
So, hello everybody, my name is Matt Day. I'm with the Triangle J Council of Governments, and I run our program called the Triangle Area Rural Planning Organization. That program is set up to provide transportation planning for 4 counties. So we work with Orange, Chatham, Lee, and Moore counties. And we identified the opportunity, as Jack said, to get some funding through NCDOT to pay for this corridor study here on 2nd Avenue. To help us just get a better handle on what y'all would like to see happen out there. And just want to say welcome, thanks for coming out, and I'm going to turn things over to our consultant team.
Awesome, thanks, Matt. And Jack, thank you as well. We got a small crowd, so we're just going to jump right into it. And we're going to make this a little bit informal too. So open up the conversation. We got folks online. My name is Mike Rutkowski. I work with Stantec. With me is Dan Henney as well. And we're working together with the RPO and of course, Siler City on the corridor project itself. We're going to quickly kind of walk through. If you can do this, you can be my slide. Yeah, progressive right there. So our agenda tonight, we're going to make this short and sweet and kind of zip through this because we have some open polling we want to ask you about. Really focusing on the problem areas, barriers and potential solutions or treatments along the corridor. And we'll tell you what the corridor looks like in a second. So we're going to do a little bit of the project context, kind of walk through the corridor, tell you what it looks like today. Obviously, it's been a fresh reminder. And then what we've heard, we have a website that's open. We have some interactive mapping. We have the survey that's ongoing. Everything's really kind of initiated recently. So we're hoping to gain more momentum. We get more people and better feedback. And then we'll get into a little bit of live polling. We're doing this live on YouTube. We also have the Zoom for folks that kind of connect in. So people are online listening to us and kind of interacting, and they're going to be taking the live polling as well. And so you guys can do that. And I think hopefully everybody has a piece of paper in front of them and a pen. I'll get everybody a pen. Make sure we got that so you can poll out as well. And how to experience this group. Okay, next. Perfect. You guys can click it. Perfect. So project context, let's kind of walk through what that looks like real briefly. Not a big shock, not a big surprise to anybody. But let me kind of go through the schedule first. So if you think about it at 3 phase, we're really at the end of the first phase. It's that due diligence, collecting data, traffic, crashes, accident, land use information, photo inventory of the entire corridor. We'll walk through what that looks like. And then we get into that middle phase, right? Where we start to think about the actual design treatments. We better understand the problems and areas along the corridor and the desire line, right? The things you guys want to see in the future as we kind of reimagine the corridor itself. And then finally, we'll come back to you guys. We're going to host what we call a multi-day design workshop here along the corridor somewhere, and have you guys look over our shoulders, kind of critique our work as we go along there. So we have engineers, planners, landscape architects all under one group, and you'll be able to critique it as we move along. And then finally, we'll come back to you after modifying some of those design plans and allow you to kind of say, okay, these are the things I like, these are the things I want to prioritize. And that's important. The corridor, let's start talking about that. So it's really Fayetteville Avenue all the way up to Greensboro split. It's the split to the split, if you will, and it's about 3/4 of a mile long. So it's not nearly a mile, but this is really kind of, if you think about it, this is the gateway to your community, right? They built the bypass, back in the 70s, Matt, Jack, right? And so nothing's really been done to the corridor, and its function, who it serves, has totally changed over that duration as well. So 3/4 of a mile long. We got residential flanking on both sides. It's your gateway into your downtown, and you know the rest. So let's take a little bit of walk in a visual perspective of the corridor. We're starting from the north side at Greensboro Avenue. We've heard a lot already about the bad skew, site angles, folks going through this intersection. But when you think about vehicular mobility, yeah, it's a complex intersection there, but no one really knows who has right of way half the time, so it becomes complex. Now, think about if you're on 2 feet or 2 wheels, how complicated that would be. There's no crosswalk. In fact, there's no crosswalk in the entire corridor in 3/4 of a mile. So how do you, Phyllis, I'm going to pick on you. How do you get across that road when you want to cross it? You run real fast. She's right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, you gotta run real fast. And that's sad to say, because what if you can't run fast? What if, you're disabled, or what if you're old enough and you're like, you know what, I'm not gonna run. So you really take your life in your hands, all kidding aside. So lack of crumbling infrastructure, right? This is owned and operated. You need to understand who owns this road. It's really DOT that owns this road, Department of Transportation, and we're working with them because they're on our advisory committee as well. Some of the maintenance on it, we've already heard, we have some puddling of floodplain or flooding that occurs along this corridor. We've got 5 lanes and 4 lanes along the corridor. We have huge gaps in the sidewalks. We have infrastructure. We actually have utility poles actually in the middle of the sidewalk. So how do you navigate that and get around? There's virtually no pedestrian level lighting here. So what happens, in fall especially, what happens during dusk? What happens after that? Is the street completely shut down? Probably so. No one wants to be out there at 7 o'clock at night when it's very dark. So there's a lot of work that we need to hone in on and look at how this road functions, not only for vehicular mobility, but more importantly, for bicycle and pedestrian to get access into your downtown. We work with a lot of communities across the nation, and honestly, we tell all of them, your downtown, if everything else was equal, tie has to go to who? The tie has to go to who? Trucks? No. Cars? No. People. Tie has to go to people. Every single one of your streets downtown has to be people friendly and safe. Can you agree to that? Absolutely, right? So that's our focus here, because this road is designed to operate for high speeds and high volumes. The good news is you don't have a whole lot of volume on Second Avenue. You don't. So we can play around a little bit and kind of redesign what this corridor looks like. Now, we know some of you, and I can see a couple of you in the back and the front, we own property here, right? We're not only residential, but business communities. So we need to understand the needs and desires in terms of delivered and trucks and circulation, as well as parking. You already told us about parking issue too, the lack of parking that we have. That's going to be important. Dan? Yeah. But stand back from the microphone, I kind of project some, so hopefully folks on Zoom and YouTube can hear me, but if not, let me know. So just sort of wanted to talk very, very quickly, because you all already know Second Avenue, right? We're not telling you anything you don't already know about the street. You live here, you experience Second Avenue on a daily basis. But we want to walk through a little bit just sort of how different users, whether you're driving a car, whether you're walking, whether you're on 2 feet or 2 wheels, how you experience the corridor. And so it's really a tale of 2 different corridors. If you're driving or if you're walking or biking. If you're driving, it feels pretty good. It's because you have a lot more road than you actually need. It's been many years since the corridor was bypassed and the road hasn't changed. And so it's a road that serves cars and traffic that don't really exist on the corridor anymore. And so you can see, what that means is that we've got a lot of space that we can really sort of reconsider. Well, how can we better serve businesses on the corridor? How can we better serve, whether that's parking? We talk about driving conditions. That's just driving. That's not parking. That's not how you experience Second Avenue necessarily. And then when you're walking, on the other hand, you heard, how do you cross Second Avenue? You run real fast. Yeah, crossing Second Avenue, that's a problem. We've got marked there, just with some incomplete intersections. Really what that means is those are the only intersections you've got ADA ramps. You talk about whether or not you can run fast. What if you can't run at all? What if you can't walk at all? Right now, half the corridor is really tough to use if you have a disability. And so, what this tells us is, well, maybe we look at how we get across the corridor better, how we look at crosswalks, we look at ADA ramps, we look at pedestrian countdowns and better lighting. And then if you're biking, oh boy. Second Avenue is for if you're riding a bike, right? Because there's no one, there's nothing else there for it. Wider streets, you've got a 5-lane road, and if there's not a lot of cars on it, you see a wide road, nobody there. It encourages people to drive really fast, and that's really dangerous on a bike. We know that people are using the corridor. We've got a couple of bike crashes here, so we know it's not that we don't need to do this because no one uses it. In addition to the plans there, we can see that folks are using it. So the question is, how do we make it safer for folks? All right, so that's only one half, right? Everything we want to know what the data is telling us, and then we want to hear from you. We want to hear what people are telling us as well. And so we've got a project website set up through the RPO. Thank you, Matt, and to the RPO for helping set that up. That has a survey and an interactive map. If you haven't been yet, please go to the website, take the survey, add some comments to the interactive map. There's links on the page, because that's a really important resource for us. The good news is we've already gotten some responses to this survey. We've got 66 responses to date, but we always need more. The more that we have, the more we know what we want as a community. And so, it comes as no surprise, really 3 big takeaways. Pedestrian crossings are challenging, right? It's 17, the number 2 issue on Second Avenue, aside from people saying, hey, it looks bad, is safe pedestrian crossings. The number 1 improvements, we need better maintenance and we need better pedestrian facilities, we need better crosswalks. Road maintenance, we're always concerned about road maintenance. We see, the number 1 answer. Number 1 answers, it doesn't look good. We need better maintenance. We've got these intersections that need improvements, and no surprise, those are your big intersections too. So, and then third, stop working over here. The third, one of the things that we've heard is that it needs to look and feel more like downtown. If you're able to advance that one.
I'm trying.
Yeah. Okay. You're one walk over from downtown, but one of the things that we've heard consistently is, well, Second Avenue doesn't really feel like it's part of downtown. And the answers we see, one, people are using it like it's downtown. They're using it daily, and not just to get elsewhere, right? Like it's a highway, but to travel to businesses on Second Avenue. People want to see little shops and little retail, a little barbecue restaurant, and that makes it very much so downtown. It doesn't feel like it, but people want it to be a part of downtown. So interactive map, that's that other sort of resource there. We want, here's where we need some more comments. This is where you can actually tie things that you're saying to the corridor. And so, we've got a lot of destinations that people want to visit, the Dollar General, Dry Dock, Seafood, the library. There's a pin right on top of the library there. But we certainly need to hear more. So it's things, I encourage you guys again, if you haven't been yet, please go and check out that interactive map and add those comments. And so with that, we're on to really the important part. That's good. Someone needs to write on. Yeah. Let's go to the chat box and read some of that.
That's just,
Question. Just
yeah,
you guys.
just
getting
me.
that information?
Yep.
Can we put on the chat box the link to the
That's-
website?
That's what we put.
Excellent. We're way ahead of us, so that's good. Hey, so we're gonna have a little bit of fun. So everybody has a piece of paper. If you can pull that up and just show what that looks like. We're gonna have a little voting for the folks that are in person here, as well as in the Zoom, that folks that are on the Zoom call as well. So we're gonna jump right into that. There's only 6 questions, but honestly, we're gonna force you into making some tough decisions, right? Because we can't do everything for everyone. We're retrofitting a problematic corridor, if you think about it, or at least one that hasn't been touched for several years. So let's jump right into it, shall we? Are you doing it manually?
Okay, what do I need to
Okay,
do?
that's fine. Yep. All right, perfect. Let's see,
the right-
first polling question, let's get up to that, and I think you're gonna have to, Dan, you're gonna have to help them launch that too.
Yeah.
And for the folks that are in here, after our conversation, we're gonna open it up to the conversation. But we do have different features. These are things we want you to vote on. We got sticky dots. We're gonna allow you to vote for your treatments that you'd like to see more of, or like to see new for pedestrian, streetscape and gateway and beautification, as well as biking treatments. And then this is kind of an interactive map thing, things that you say this intersection needs to be fixed, maintenance, or puddles here often, or we need parking here. That's we'll have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna handle that as they bring it up. So let's jump into the first question. What is that? There you go. There's our first question, and Dan, stick there. Make sure our technology is working. So our first question is, how do you rate the overall quality of Second Avenue? Quality can mean a lot of different things, but it's your personal opinion. How do you rate the overall quality of Second Avenue? We want you to choose one. If we said all of the above, you choose all of the above. So A, is it very poor? It's in pretty bad shape. B, it's somewhat poor. It needs some help, but the bones are there. C, I'm neutral. I'm indifferent. D, it's somewhat good. It just needs a little maintenance, a little love. E, very good. It's perfect just the way it is. Don't mess it. Please vote. And if you guys need something to write on, give them something to write on, you know, like a pad of paper, so it doesn't, yeah, you don't mark through your, don't mark through your hat, right? It's not marking out, we need a new pen.
All right.
We'll try this one. Dennis needs a new pen. All right, and someone monitor the Zoom voters. You good?
So the issue is we're sharing the screen, so we can't look at until.
That's okay, you can share that, you can just talk to us with the results.
Well, if we look at the results, they're gonna show up. Like if that's what that bottom corner is, that's the results.
Oh, I see. Yeah. You're gonna pull it. We'll figure this out as we go. All right, how are we doing on the number of participants?
It's 6.
All right,
We got 6 in.
all right, going once, going twice. All right, let's show the results. At least these are the folks that voted online. Okay, very poor, about 33%, followed by 33% somewhat poor. So you're in that area. No one's voting and it says perfect, it doesn't need change. So not a big surprise there. And hold on, yeah, if you can share the results, there you go. And Erica, if you could take a photo of this, that would be great. Thank you. All right, perfect. Let's go to the next one. Next slide. You know, when we talk about complete streets, you know, everybody, by show of hands, everybody know what complete streets are. Have everybody heard of complete streets? So few. All that complete streets means, all that it simply means is that we consider other and all modes, right? Bicycle, pedestrian, whatever that is. Bicycle, pedestrian, trucking, vehicular mobility, transit. Who knows what this corridor is going to look like in the next 10 or 20 years. When we redesign this road, hopefully it'll sustain itself over the next 25 years. That's great. So ultimately, this is your gateway, right? It's one of your gateways into your downtown. We want to create, we all hear that. Everybody wants walkable community streets, right? And this is part of it. How do you do that? Most of it is done through redesign. You got to give folks an opportunity to walk there safely, We just mentioned the lack of crosswalks, and now everybody, including Miss Phyllis over here, is running across the road. But all kidding aside, if you don't have a healthy environment that's conducive to walking or bicycling, or even that quick access, maybe it's on-street parking people are looking for, then you really don't create that environment that's going to encourage more people in your downtown. Let's face it, a lot of these folks own businesses along the corridor, and you need people to access that. So that's all we're talking about in terms of creating walkable communities. 85%, national poll, 85% of folks that are willing to live downtown are actually willing to give up their car if they had quick access to amenities, services, and goods on a daily basis. Willing to give up their car. 85% of the folks that have been polled. Next. All right, here we go. Our next question, number 2, is how do you, nope, it's not how you rate, but let me see, there you go. Nope, number 2, there you go. Which modes would most likely improve along 2nd Avenue? We want you to choose one. Is it A, driving, B, biking, C, walking, D, ADA compliance, accessibility? Please vote, choose one. Which mode is most in need of improvement along 2nd Avenue? I love this forces you. Now, if we put E and we put all of the above, every single one of you would put E. So it doesn't do us any good. And that's what we mean making tough choices, right? We don't have enough money. We don't have enough to do everything we want for everyone, right? So we have to prioritize something. I like that. How are we doing on the vote?
Can't tell without looking.
That's great. This isn't a tough one, so we're giving you a couple more seconds here. Going once, going twice. Let's show the results. And then, yep, end the polling and share the results. There you go. Wow, walking. All right, we didn't want to, preclude anything else from happening, but we probably talked a lot about being pedestrian. Biking, not a big. That's a little bit surprising because you want to be able to have good access and circulation. You got a larger, downtown. It's hard to get around just by 2 feet. So driving and then 88 compliance. Everybody else is voting, right? As we go along, right? Awesome. All right, next. All right, how safe? Let's talk about that, right? How safe is 2nd Avenue? Again, choose one. A, very unsafe, somewhat unsafe, neutral on the different, it's somewhat safe, or it's very safe. Choose one. Please vote. No wrong answer. Really, it just depends on your own perspective. Right? Anybody's alarmed by that, we do have a nurse in the office to take care of us if anything happens in terms of safety.
We've always had some people ask, what do you mean safe? Safe driving, safe walking, safe biking, whatever is yes, you tell us. What does that mean to you?
That's right. All right. Going once, going twice. Let's show the results here. Okay. Little split there. Share that. 43% matched up between very unsafe and somewhat unsafe. And I get that. No one's saying it's a safe environment, especially if you think about, in the evening when it gets dark too. I mean, you think about this corridor right now, it's an 8-hour corridor, 8 or 10-hour corridor. What happens if you introduce lighting? Will it become that 18-hour corridor to really improve the vibrancy of your downtown and the corridor itself? All right, let's go to the next one. You guys are doing great. Or it should be a slideshow.
Yeah, you can only do one at a time.
Oh, there you go. All right, let's talk about non-motorized transportation. Really, we're talking about being a pedestrian, the walkability as well as biking, the community. And it's interesting, you think about it, but most people are willing to walk to even a mile to get to their destination. And they're willing to ride a bike up to 3 miles nationwide. May not be you, but collectively as a group, I get that. It depends on the climate and the environment, right? But it's not to say that Love's Creek is a great example of your greenway system. No one's going to walk it in its entirety, but they may use it to get from A to B or to do some recreational stuff, right? But what does that do? Return on investment, you get a little bit more healthier community. let's face it, America, USA is the highest nation. They're number one now, number one for the highest obesity in the world. That's not an accolade that we want to hang our hat on. And so we need to be respectful about the benefits in terms of health, in terms of connectivity, getting from A to B, and making safe travel to do so. So a lot of positive impact, as well as the economic return on investment. If we put public dollars into this corridor, we expect private reinvestment along the corridor. All right, next. So 4, again, we only have 3 more questions here, but 4 is a multiple choice and we're giving you 3 to select. So what's the biggest problem along 2nd Avenue? Is it A, high speeds and safety? B, poor maintenance and old infrastructure? That includes anything from flooding, crumbling concrete infrastructure. C, lack of safe walking facilities along 2nd Avenue, sidewalks, curb cuts, and let's face it, if I was to guesstimate, I'd say half of the corridor has some sort of sidewalks, but there's a huge gaps along this corridor. In fact, dead end sidewalks that pretty much go nowhere. D, lack of safe facilities to cross 2nd Avenue, crosswalks, pedestrian countdowns, all the things that Dan rattled off. E, lack of bicycle facilities. F, lack of on-street parking. G, poor design, using lanes, poor sight distance, bad angles. Or H, something entirely different. And for those of you on Zoom, just use that chat box if you don't mind. So please vote, choose 3, and we'll go from there. Anything else, Dan, we missing?
No, I think that about hits it. We definitely want to know if there's something that you don't see in that list, please and tell us what it is. Those are the things we want to know. There's nothing worse than not knowing.
Yeah, as an engineer, we love solving problems, but we rarely ask what they are. And so here's our chance for you guys to tell us exactly. But it could be, yeah. If we don't get that right, then how can we go to the council, your council, and say, this is what the people told us was the problem, and that's a potential solution. You'll help us not only with the problem, but with the solutions.
The last thing that we want to do is prepare this beautiful road design and plan that y'all don't care about at all. Doesn't do anything for you.
That's terrible. All right, I know this is a 3 selection here, but this is good. Hey, we also have, not only residential folks in the out, most of them are. We have some business owners here, but we also have some council people too, right? Is it county or is it the Siler City?
Well, I'm county commissioner.
Okay. Okay. Franklin, you're county as well. Perfect. Thanks for joining.
I think we have a
commissioners.
Yeah.
What's that? That's right. Okay. He gets to vote twice. Diane, is that what you're saying?
We have a town commissioner online.
Okay. Who's that?
Norma Boone, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, Norma's iPad. And
Yeah, it's me.
Patterson, he's a planning board member. Dennis is a planning board member as well.
Okay.
So we have 2
Dennis,
planning board members.
Travis, Norma, thanks for joining us.
Rich is a downtown advisory committee member. Al is a business owner. Miss Phyllis has got a church folks with her. And Janet Ramirez is with Hispanic Liaison.
Okay, great.
Rich's wife is keeping an eye on him. She's on there as well.
We're all connected somehow. All right, let's go back and see the question of pros. Let's see what our results here. Oh, right across the board. This is going to be a tough one, Dan. All right, 71% lack of safe facilities to cross 2nd Avenue, without a doubt. You have no sidewalks. And that should be easy. You know why that's easy? Because it's a bucket of paint and it requires no right. So shame on us, right? That's tied with lack of safe facilities. Lack of safe walking facilities along 2nd Avenue. Yeah, huge gaps in the south. As we talk about this, I feel like we're leading them to the horse to the water. High speed and safety, without a doubt. When you have such a wide road that's 5 lanes, think about it, and there's no traffic, you have a tendency. It's very wide. There's no side parking. You don't see any people. There's no sidewalks. There's no bike lanes. Guess what you're doing? It's flat and straight. You're getting on it. And everybody in here that's owned a car and driven on 2nd Avenue has done this. They're speeding along 2nd Avenue, each and every one of you. that has done that, and that's the reality. That's the reality. When it's flat and straight, we gotta change that. The only way to change speed is through redesign. We can't have Mr. Police Officer out there writing tickets as a temporary solution to a long-term problem. We can't have that. And we can't put up a sticker on a sign that says, oh, now we're changing it to 20 miles an hour. No one's gonna pay attention to that. We've got to redesign. So that's a good point. All right, followed by poor maintenance and old infrastructure, without a doubt. So we need to look at that holistically. Excellent. No other? All right, let's stop sharing that. Let's move on. You guys are doing great. There's only 2 more questions, and then we're going to open it up to some conversation. Did anybody else in our group have any other items that they wanted to put specifically to the problem area that wasn't on there? Okay,
Just the aesthetics.
the aesthetics. Good point. Yep. So we heard that aesthetics and beautification, right? It is your gateway. So what are you saying about your community? Don't worry about us. Don't come here to spend money. Just drive through it. Right? So aesthetics, big important. The way I look at your gateways, your downtown, you think about it, your downtown is your house. Your gateway is your front porch. It should be inviting, it should be beautiful, and it should be welcoming. You gotta do that. All right. Next, access management. A lot of people get confused by that. There's the other side of the story. As an engineer, we want to clean things up as well. And the key is when people talk about access management, a lot of people are like, what is that? And all we're saying is it's curb cuts, it's intersections. Access management just manages the access demand on the corridor like Second Avenue. So it's the curb cuts you have. You have a ton of them. You also have curb cuts that are very, very wide, you know, maybe 150 feet in some areas. And you have businesses that probably have 4 access points to their business, but do they need all 4 of those, right? And you gotta, I know we have some business folks here, I'm not trying to, downplay that, but the reality is every time you have a curb cut to a road, it creates 32 points of conflict, or an intersection to a road. 32 points of conflict. What does that mean? That means a car and a person, or a car and a car can connect or hit each other 32 different angles. And that's pretty profound. Why? Because now it adds to driver confusion and people that are walking and people that are on the road. So we're not saying we're going to eliminate those like the image on the right, but this is a good example of what not to do. Top right, do you need all those without interconnection? And some things that we can do to help that is clean it up, driver consolidation, also cross access between complementary uses. There's no reason why you shouldn't have a church over here and a gas station here or a restaurant over here that are not interconnected off the road. Right? Just makes logical sense. Right, access management, so I'll play a little bit into it. Not big, but it'll play something. Question number 5. What's missing along Second Avenue? Now you're starting to think, here are the problems. Here, now we're asking you, what are some of the solutions? So what's missing along Second Avenue? We want you to again choose up to 3. A, street pedestrian level lighting. B, streetscape, street trees, benches, and landscaping, that sort of stuff. And let's face it, it gets hot down here during the summer. Try walking in July or August down here along the street, you'll fry. And so streetscaping is B. C, gateways, we just mentioned that. Entrance, exits, and welcoming signs, banners, the like. D, maintenance, repair sidewalks, curb and gutter, and pavement. E, on-street parking, there you go, Phyllis. F, protected bike lanes. Protected meaning something physical between the travel lane and the bike lane, or it's up on like the curb. G, small shops and storefronts, okay, restaurants, that sort of thing. H, something else, other. Tell us and use the chat box for those on Zoom. Choose 3.
Talking about it frying in the summertime. One of the things that contributes to that is having a lot of pavement that you don't need. You can add things like street trees or benches or fill that in, and that'll also help bring that temperature down too.
Yeah, for sure. You guys are doing good. Any problems with your survey that you guys have? Pretty straightforward. Diane?
I would like to.
You would like, she would take 4. Yeah, I love that. You should know better. The commissioner. Right? Can't get everything you want, right? You gotta make tough choices. I like this. When we come back, we'll talk to you about phases. When we come back to see you, we'll talk about cost, what it's gonna cost. Our premise here, and I don't want to put too much pressure on Matt or Jack or the city or DOT, is that we're gonna try to do a lot more for less. In other words, we will try to keep the curb and gutter constant. We're trying to limit, I don't want to put words in Matt or Jack's mouth, but we're trying to limit the right of way. We're not, there's no need to widen this road, period. And yeah, if anything, you're gonna bring it in. We understand that. But we're gonna limit any kind of right of way. If anything, we're gonna give back. That's pretty important. All right, how we doing? You want to show the results? There you go. Matt, thank you. All right, survey says, show those, share them up. Wow, it is across the board again. This is gonna be tough, Dan. 75% say maintenance. The basic premise of a road, can we maintain it? We can't even do that. Followed by streetscaping, street trees, benches, and landscaping. And then pedestrian level lighting. That's a big demand for that. I see that. On-street parking and bike lanes are follow up. Anybody else in the crowd? Did we miss anything else? Don't see that in the chat box, but I was wondering if you guys have it.
One thing, I put it under the gateway item there, but wayfinding signs. You can go straight down Second Avenue and not even realize that Chatham Avenue is really downtown.
Yeah, so we have a comment in our in-person meeting here that is wayfinding, right? And that makes sense. It's part of it. To me, it's not branding, but it's wayfinding. Where do you go for certain, destinations, right? Like this wonderful facility, but yeah, and then do it downtown. Absolutely. All right, let's stop sharing that. Let's go on. We got one more. Doing more or less. And we just wanted to show you, you can click it twice, but we wanted to show you, this is a project that we finished up, and click it again. Yeah, the before picture is in your top right corner. The after picture is really those intersections. The reason why I put this in here is you see the before, it's very similar to your corridor, in fact, where you have an intersection that's just not a whole lot of markings there, no crosswalks there, no pedestrian level lighting. And the key is this, and it's 4 lanes. Now keep in mind, you have a 4-lane and a 5-lane section. NCDOT is not building a 4-lane road. Those are extremely dangerous. Why? Because you come up to the intersection, you probably have that. Some of your intersections, you have the 4 lanes that come in, and that becomes your left turn lane and through, which means a car's parked here, right? Another car's here, you can't see around them when you take your left turn. I know everybody shaking their head right now saying, okay, that makes sense. So what this one is showing is the intersection itself. We want to show how more high quality intersections with pedestrian countdown, shading, obviously trees important, high visibility crosswalk, ADA compliance, and just cleaning it up as your gateway, right, Rich? And so, and then using some bulb outs to run, get people across the road a little bit quicker. Why this is important is everything you see in this image before and after doesn't require any writing. You can all do that in the confines of what you already own, or the DOT, the state, already owns there. So that is a gateway to me. Excellent. I'll get off my picture box. All right, number 6. Let's do that. Let's initiate the polling. Number 6. Perfect. Thank you. What's the highest priority? Now you have to prioritize. What's the highest priority need along Second Avenue? We want you to choose 2 this time. Yeah, I know we gave you a lot of selection, but we're really forcing the decision. It's your last chance, and this is your last question. A, safety improvements. B, bike lanes. C, better road maintenance. D, sidewalk repair, better sidewalks. E, streetscape beautification. F, more on-street parking. G, intersection improvements. That's crosswalks, countdowns, you name it. H, better wayfinding and signage. You know how Rich is going to vote. I, gateway treatments, or J, something else. Use the chat box. I like this only because it really challenges you to prioritize. It's very similar to the previous one, but we're also doing this to kind of compare results based on what you're saying. Please vote. Choose 2. And this will conclude our, our Q&A. It's going to open up a little bit too. You guys hanging in there? You're doing great. What's our time check, Dan?
We're at 6. We got a good hour still to go.
All right. We'll let you guys know.
Plenty of time
And just
to
a
wander
reminder,
around.
we'll be back in the community in the next month. month and a half, to do what we call a multi-day design workshop. And where we actually take all these ideas that you have collectively given us, all the interactive mapping and stuff behind me, all of the visual preference survey, all of the voting that you've done, everything online with that, as well as what we're hearing back today, and really kind of framing out, kind of looking at some of the amenities you want and some of the problems to fix. All right, choose two, going once, going twice. All right, let's show the results. And that point, we're sharing that. There you go, safety improvements, the bare necessities of life, right? Intersection improvements, those two are 50 and 63%, followed by sidewalk repair, better sidewalk streetscaping. All right, but you really kind of across the board with this. That's excellent. Anybody else in the audience have any other priorities that weren't brought up here? Okay, awesome. Thanks for voting. Let's do that. So all these will be memorialized. We'll put all of the results, including all of the PowerPoint, on our website, as well as the imagery that you see around the room that we showed earlier in terms of the context and some of the data behind what we're doing. So let's clean that up. I think we're good, and we can move on to the next steps. I appreciate it. Actually, let's stop right there and just open up the conversation a little bit. And for folks in the audience and chat box, if we want to monitor that as well. So I'm going to pick on a couple of things. Al, I'm going to pick on you first because you're right in front. What brings you here and why is this street important to you?
Well, as a business owner, and my business requires the trucks.
Yeah.
Deliveries. And we get several a day, and they're tractor trailers. So, my concern is them getting in and out. And I guess the other concern that I think about this road, I know you mentioned it doesn't have a lot of traffic, but on the other hand, I see it all the time, and I think you're gonna take all these cars that I've been on it all my life. There's a lot of cars on that 4 lane, and you're gonna put them on possibly on 2. Is that you're gonna be waiting for backing up at stoplights, and then now I know it's not all day long. But there's, your high traffic times of day. Will it accommodate that? But my biggest concern is being able to get my goods in and out, and not, I see this at the top intersection behind my business, the next street up. A lot of traffic uses that because they don't want to get on the 5 lanes or the 4 lanes. Right. But I see a lot of stop sign running, and they don't even know what stop signs there.
Oh God. Yeah.
So
stop sign.
Yeah, this is the streets that are not the corridor we're talking. This is the east of that.
Third
top of
Avenue.
the hill. Yeah. So are people going to avoid a lot of traffic? Going to avoid this street and go to the side street? So we don't really have a good street north to south. This is the north to south street through Siler City.
Yeah. And so I'm going to repeat a little bit. So Al is a business owner. He owns the
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. First of all. And so he sees a lot of deliveries, very large, we call them tractor trailers, 18 really right out. So part of that we're going to need to make sure is make sure we do good, our like a design vehicle. We look at that and make sure that when we design something, maybe an intersection, could be a future roundabout, who knows, make sure that it can accommodate those large vehicles. Number one, and using truck capers and roll curves and like. Number two, one of his concerns was about potential for road down, safe. Potential for road diet. You got 5 lanes and 4 lanes. That's something we'll just have to take a look at. Not to say everybody's jumping on that, but we really need to fall back and really understand how's this functioning and who is it serving, right? And can we handle it, right? And I think those are the basic kind of questions you want to ask that. I will say that based on the numbers that we're seeing along this corridor, you are way under the capacity of a 4-lane, 5-lane road. I mean, you're way, way under. And the reality is these volumes haven't changed. The overall volumes haven't changed for 2 decades. And so we do have some opportunity to play around with it. Now, what do you do with that space is really the question. Do you dedicate on-street parking? Do you move curbs? You could put in wider sidewalks for outside seating or to cater to different developments. And so, or do you put in street trees? And so there's different things that we can play around and kind of play the what if on doing that. Last but not least, and probably most important, we all see it, speed. It's gonna happen, especially during off-peak period. During the peak period, there's a lot of stop and go, it's hard to get around cars, some of them do. But we're gonna need to figure out, through the good quality design, how to slow down vehicles. Make them aware that they're gonna expect to see pedestrians, bicyclists, or parked cars, or visitors, or patrons, or trucks that are trying to make a tight move. So let us think about that and really collectively as a group, including you, Al, and everybody else, figure out what we're gonna do to make, to look at how we repurpose some of this asphalt. Because you got too much, you really do have to, compared to what's there today. That's why they built the bypass. When we built the bypass, all that traffic, it just never came back.
Well, except they didn't all. I understand, we've got to accommodate the trucks that come on, making deliveries and that, however large or small. I've got a feeling, I have no evidence for this, that some trucks are using it as a bypass from 64 to 421, so they don't have to go down 64 through Hamburger Highway.
Wow.
And then all the way down, all through all that traffic, all those lights, on 421. So it's a shortcut. It could be.
Yeah.
Again, I don't have any evidence for that, but there are a lot of trucks that aren't making.
Let us take a look at that. So Rich brought up the fact that there might be even some cases where trucks are going through your community to avoid 64, correct?
I guess who knows?
Yeah, because it's all about travel time. That's what they deal with, So if they can hit those green lights, they're doing good. They're stopping and going, they're probably electing to do that. So let us do a little bit of research. The question again is how much of those truck traffic, or even through traffic, even cars too, are zipping through using this as kind of a quasi bypass to avoid 64. Let us take a look at that. That's a great question. But again, it's all about how we design this, right? And I think that's going to be important. The message we need to send out to travelers behind two wheels, behind the steering wheel, is that when you come into our town, you advocate a gateway. Why? Because you want people to spend money here, right? You want them to meet up with a friend for coffee or to the shop and have lunch together or to the brewery, whatever, and entertain and spend money here, right? Because let's face it, and I think when we do that, we're telling people, you got to slow down, expect people. You got to slow down. And if you want to go fast, that's why we built the bypass. Use that. So I think that's the message that we gotta do through this collective exercise. The other thing is that here's the reality, and we haven't talked about this much, is if we put in the public investment, we expect some redevelopment. If I was to guess, we can all collectively as a group head out, but drive down this corridor and see what properties are out of business. Number one, what properties are maybe not the highest and best, kind of turned over. I think someone mentioned that earlier, that they turned over and now they're this, now they're that, something else, pizzeria, you got laundry, you got all these things that are out of business. If I was to guess, I would say about 50% of the facilities, the buildings along this corridor are either not the highest and best use or vacant. That's a guess, and I've only been here a few times. So we want to revitalize this corridor. If we put public dollars into it, we expect private reinvestment to occur. And that's at the end of the day, that's going to keep Jack and Dalton in their position and working for the town. That's what's going to keep you guys with your tax base as well. So let's celebrate that. I think the way we do that is to really rebuild a more complete street that's vibrant, that's active, that's walkable, and attractive. And safe. Any other questions? This is good. Go ahead, Dan.
Especially, I know there's a commitment to build housing downtown.
Mhm.
And housing downtown, implies that there's, it's walkable, it implies that there are places to go.
Mhm.
And as you look at saying about those businesses. I think it's because it's just, there's not enough retail, and why you can say no retail, you know?
Because there's no people.
There's no people. But if you add people to downtown, there will be
Yes.
more opportunity for successful.
So Diana asked about residential, but basically residential and housing downtown. How long have you guys, and this is collectively for the group, how long has there been a desire and interest to get people into the downtown for residential to be living downtown?
The Jack knows it's going more than that, but I know when Siler City was doing the NC Spec program a number of years ago, that was certainly, that was certainly a goal.
Okay.
And we have, I know definitely one, I'm not sure there might even be two developers right now.
Yeah, I think it's probably been around for quite a while, at least a decade, the idea, but it took a few investors to come in and start making it happen in this little spiral. I think there's around 26 or 28 units
Okay.
existing and under construction.
Any multifamily?
All of it's second floor
Okay.
apartments.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's all multifamily.
You know, it's funny, and that's the key. For any successful downtown, your number one, number two, and number three goal is to get people down here. You've got to have it if you want a vibrant downtown. No one's gonna put in a grocery store. No one's gonna put a high quality restaurant without people. So either you get people and you do an incubator, right? You incentivize development, housing, and this piece. Now is the time. Why? Because you can build a cardboard box now that people will buy into in this market, in this region. This region is the hottest region, the second hottest housing or growth in all of the nation. The only one doing better than more higher growth is Austin, Texas. And so this region is fantastic. And right now, residential is the key. Looking, and even if you have to incentivize, I would recommend get people in your downtown. You won't have all the amenities without it. And then the public investment, from the city and from the county, is to do those public amenities. Give them a reason to be down here, and including programs like festivals and the like. I know you have a couple of them coming up too, so celebrate that. But yeah, give them down. Excellent. Franklin.
So you touched on pretty much economic growth on what it is. Shadow just got been passed over the month here. You got the Florida over the January. We ourselves also have next the Kansas site. You mentioned that we have a lot of asphalt. One of the things I hate to see would be, going from the 4th to the 2 lane, and then this growth is coming in and then having to go back to the 4th. So just wanted to make sure, that you're considering all the factors that may happen, will probably happen soon.
Yeah. So Franklin, thanks for bringing this up. It's the gray elephant in the room, but the reality is the concern was, hey, look, we've got a lot of industrial coming in to the county, which is great. Cheers. But do we start losing infrastructure, meaning, our roads and our infrastructure? If we have, impending growth that's coming, I would challenge you. There's so many great communities that have been so successful in their downtown by keeping their streets simplistic. Wake Forest, fantastic. Stanford, your neighbor, their downtown is kicking butt. You know why? Because they're redesigning. They're doing road diets. Chatham Street and Charlotte Avenue. Matt, you worked on that with us together. And they are doing more multifamily than anybody in the community you're talking right now. Followed by Nightdale and Roseville. Roseville just did a road diet in Main Street. And so don't worry about that. I would advocate more connected streets if you have growth and then improve connectivity. So you don't want to put in boulevards in your downtown necessarily, right? Because what you're telling people is zip through our community faster. But you can always improve connectivity. So if a developer comes in and wants to do this massive development, require cross-access between complementary uses, require backdoor access, require two-lane collector streets to make sure connections are made. Because the key to success in anybody's downtown is safety for pedestrians. That's the key. Let's face it. We worked on, when I started my piddly little career, on Hillsborough Street in Raleigh. This is a great story. It was 4 lanes. You remember this? It was 4 lanes. People, and it had 20,000 vehicles on it. You guys have how much? 7?
In the heaviest portion between Raleigh and 3rd Street, it's 7,900. Outside, that's about 5,000.
You have 5 lanes, you have 7,000. They had 4 lanes and they had 20,000 vehicles on it. This is 20 years ago. And they considered doing the road. Why? Because they wanted more pedestrians. It was the only place in America that I knew that a McDonald's went out of business. How does a McDonald's go out of business with 35,000 customers right across the street? You know why? It was unsafe. It was a terrible environment. They did that, and now it's one of the most, it's true.
I went to school, I wouldn't even. McDonald's.
That one. Sorry, back.
You get so many good records. It costs
Yeah,
you
yeah.
more money.
Mitch is still there. He was there, but my point is this. Yeah, but my point is this, all kidding aside, you can make a great street, right? But you don't necessarily have to put in lanes because of growth. I would put in more connectivity. That's really,
Thanks for mentioning that, Franklin. He's right. And me and Dalton are starting to feel the residential growth pressure from developers. So building that discussion, if RoDOT does become a vision, building in that recommendation, that discussion, some of the supporting documentation should be concerned because, yeah, the VinFast, Toyota battery, our site's looking really good. There's a lot of opportunity there. So there is some growth coming. Now, that how we maybe make sure that those projections are tied into this study. I think it's very important.
and give them a place, give them a reason to come into your downtown. We're doing the same project in Cary, North Carolina. And they're contemplating widening or keeping it more pedestrian street. And they're seeking tens of millions of dollars for downtown with a park, with water features, with a theater, with a new library. And now the demand for housing downtown just has gone through the absolute roof. So yeah, it's all about that, creating that destination. Right now, you'd be challenged to say kind of key destination, but we can make great things. It's just, it's really that complex.
We did have a comment coming.
Awesome. All right, we'll look at the Zoom. It's a good discussion. Okay, Sue's area. Yes, shop, dine, coffee are a draw, but the visitor's experience is important. Streets visually appealing and our unique character and pride of the place evident even before guests leave their visit. Absolutely. Again, I don't know if it was on air earlier. Sue, thanks for bringing this up. You know, this is your gateway. This is the front porch of your house, inviting and friendly. That's what we want. But yeah, absolutely. Any other comments? Thank you, Sue. Awesome. Anything else? This is good. This is good conversation. If not, we can, we got about half an hour left. We can let you kind of vote too. The more input we get, honestly, either online, again, go to the website, it's in your chat box, or visually, or here, that would be great. We need to tackle some of these. Anything else? Good, bad, or ugly, you can share. This is good. You got a good cross section. You have some elected officials. And Pamela, go ahead. Go ahead with the website.
It's Tarpo.
Yes.
You know it.
It's Tarpo, which is TARPO.org. And then it's /2 NDAVE, like 2nd Avenue.
We're gonna write it down for you.
We will make sure that you have that one.
That's good. Yeah, tell your friends, tell your constituents, tell your co-employees, go ahead and take that. We need to hear more.
So that's what we're gonna ask you, so people that weren't at the meeting, will be able to go on the site and click the.
Yes,
Okay.
so on the site, we have links to the online survey, the interactive map they were talking about. We actually have a link to the boards they have in here today that we'll be putting on after the meeting tonight. And we also have a link to the YouTube stream of this meeting, if anybody wants to watch that. So,
And the PowerPoint.
and the PowerPoint.
Yeah, you'll be able to actually see, you, obviously these boards are here right now, and as you guys, as you're attending, you'll be able to see and interact with them. But for folks who weren't able to be here, or if you want to come back and, say, oh, wait a second, maybe I want to say something else. These boards are online. You set up a link for it, so you'll be able to do that. You can leave sticky notes with them. You can put a sticky note on a board. You can put a dot on, to vote for something. It functions exactly the same as if you were walking around, and certain differences, they're just up on the screen. All right, we're gonna take a picture to wave at it. Would you? Anybody? Okay. Perfect.
All right, you guys have been great. We'll help you with this if you want to stick around with that or answer any other questions, but thanks folks for the Zoom call.
On the screen.
What was that?
Put the website up on the screen.
Yes, I'll do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so
So
just
folks
really,
on Zoom call, we'll get back to you and we'll keep you informed. Just check out the website. But thanks for joining us.
In the chat,
so
right?
just really fast for the room, we've kind of got like three sort of, it's not column stations, but three different areas for you. The first is just sort of this area over here, talking about sort of what the corridor is currently, what do you like about it, what do you not like about it. That content and existing conditions board, since you guys were all here, you have had the virtue of hearing everything that is on that board already. You have seen every single bit of that. But nonetheless, if you want a refresher on it, if you want to leave a sticky note on it to say, hey, I don't really like this, by all means, put it there. We've got the board there as well. We've got that comment map, the interactive map. It looks a lot like the one you've seen on that you will see online, or maybe have seen online. Use the sticky dots that are on the side there. You are unlimited in the number of comments that you can put up on that map. We'll bring that into the interactive map website as well, and we'll use all of those points. And then last, if we're talking about sort of problems and whatnot over there, we've got you guys thinking a little bit maybe about some of the solutions you'd like to see on the corridor. And so you'll get the opportunity to vote here. You are limited to 4 dots per board. You can use them any way you see fit on the board. You can put all 4 of them on parking. You can put 1 on each one. You don't have to use any of them whatsoever. If you don't want a darn thing from that category on the board to be on the 52nd Avenue, feel free to ignore the board entirely. But you only get 4 per board. All right?
4 green ones?
Yeah, it would be the 4 green ones. The color over here doesn't necessarily matter. The color matters over here just because they correspond to the categories down below. Place you like to visit, safety hazards, what have you.
Do you have a parking on the, you go online?
On the board, we will make that edit to the board online. So,
Good point.
yeah, we added one
That's important.
because someone pointed out it's very important. On-street parking wasn't on one of these 3 boards, and it needed to be. It was supposed to be. So on-street parking is up here. That doesn't take away from biking. Think about more as sort of a safe feature here. So if you want to